Undercover CEO gets ignored by staff, until a black waitress treats him with respect. He walked in just before the breakfast rush, quiet, slow, almost invisible. To most, he looked like an old man. Dusty sneakers, worn-out jeans, a faded jacket that had clearly seen better days. No flashy watch. No confident strut. Just a tired look in his eyes. Like someone carrying the weight of more than just travel. The staff barely glanced up. One waitress looked at him and immediately turned away. Another whispered to her coworker, "Probably just wants to use the bathroom." They chuckled. He stood there for almost 3 full minutes. No one asked if he needed help. No one even said hello. But this man wasn't just some stranger off the street. He was the CEO, the owner of the very diner he just stepped into, Michael Carrington. Billionaire. Business mogul. And today, an undercover customer. You see, Michael had been receiving complaints. Not about the food, but the people. Some customers said they felt ignored. Others said they witnessed staff treating certain guests better than others. Especially if you looked different. He needed to see it for himself. No suits. No name tags. Just silence and observation, and in that silence, something happened. If you are enjoying this story, kindly tell us where you are listening from. Let's know how far this story travels. A young black waitress appeared from the kitchen. Her name was Tiana. Her uniform looked too big for her, like she borrowed it. But her eyes were warm. She didn't hesitate. She didn't judge. "Hey there," she said softly. "You okay?" Michael nodded slowly. "Just tired. Traveling." "Well, you're here now. Come sit," she smiled. "I'll get you some coffee." Simple words. Nothing grand. But to Michael, they meant everything. While the others stood behind the counter, whispering and giggling, Tiana led him to a booth by the window. Cleaned it. Wiped it twice. Brought him water and a fresh menu, no assumptions. No attitude. Just kindness. And Michael noticed something else too. As Tiana moved through the diner, she greeted everyone the same way. An elderly white couple. A Nigerian dad and his 2 daughters. A young Latina nurse on break. No change in her voice. No change in her smile, but the other staff, different story. They gave full attention to the customers in suits. They rushed to serve the ones who looked like they had money. But if your skin was dark, or your accent was thick, or your clothes weren't new, you got half a smile. If that, Michael kept watching. He wasn't here to catch people in the act. He was here to see who they really were when no one important was watching, and the truth was loud. Tiana. She was working twice as hard, carrying trays with one hand, clearing tables with the other. Covering for coworkers who disappeared into the kitchen. Laughing off rude comments. Smiling through what looked like exhaustion. At one point, Michael caught a line cook rolling his eyes. "She's too soft," he muttered to another waitress. Always helping strays. Michael sipped his coffee, slow. He wasn't mad. Not yet. He was learning who showed character, and who wore it like a mask, and the more he watched Tiana, the more he saw the weight she carried. Not just plates, but pressure. Pressure to prove she belonged. Pressure to stay cheerful even when disrespected. He'd seen this before, in boardrooms. In high-end restaurants. In investor meetings, same story. Different uniforms, but in this little diner, Tiana stood out, not for how loud she was, but for how quiet her strength spoke, and that, Michael thought, was something money couldn't fake. He looked out the window for a moment, then back at her. She didn't know it yet, but her whole life was about to change, because kindness, when no one's looking, echoes louder than 1,000 speeches, and today. That echo reached the CEO's table. Michael finished his eggs slowly, watching the diner's rhythm from the corner of his eye. It was chaos masked as routine. The kind where some voices get heard, and others silenced. Tiana had disappeared into the kitchen. And the moment she did, the mood shifted. The staff leaned in, like it was safe to talk now. "She's too emotional," one of the waitresses muttered. "She always acts like she owns the place," another added. The line cook snorted. "I swear, if I hear her quote one more Bible verse." Michael stared at the remains of his toast, holding back the urge to speak. Not yet. This wasn't just a diner problem. It was a heart problem. A culture problem. And you can't fix a culture unless you understand its cracks. Then it happened, a faint sound. Behind the kitchen door, crying. It was soft. Hidden. The kind of cry that didn't want to be heard. The kind you release only when you think no one is listening. But Michael heard it. He stood up quietly and walked toward the back, blending in like a man just looking for the restroom. Through a narrow hallway, past the storeroom, he saw her, Tiana, sitting on a crate, head down, apron stained with syrup and tears. Her phone in her hands. Screen glowing with a missed call. Michael froze. Not from awkwardness, but from recognition. That kind of pain. It was personal. It meant something deeper was going on. He didn't interrupt. He just waited, silently, around the corner, and then she whispered, thinking she was alone, "I can't lose this job." Her voice cracked. "God, I'm trying so hard. Why does it feel like no matter what I do, I'm not enough?" She didn't know it yet, but her whole life was about to change, because kindness, when no one's looking, echoes louder than 1,000 speeches, and today. That echo reached the CEO's table. Michael finished his eggs slowly, watching the diner's rhythm from the corner of his eye. It was chaos masked as routine. The kind where some voices get heard, and others silenced. Tiana had disappeared into the kitchen. And the moment she did, the mood shifted. The staff leaned in, like it was safe to talk now. "She's too emotional," one of the waitresses muttered. "She always acts like she owns the place," another added. The line cook snorted. "I swear, if I hear her quote one more Bible verse." Michael stared at the remains of his toast, holding back the urge to speak. Not yet. This wasn't just a diner problem. It was a heart problem. A culture problem. And you can't fix a culture unless you understand its cracks. Then it happened, a faint sound. Behind the kitchen door, crying. It was soft. Hidden. The kind of cry that didn't want to be heard. The kind you release only when you think no one is listening. But Michael heard it. He stood up quietly and walked toward the back, blending in like a man just looking for the restroom. Through a narrow hallway, past the storeroom, he saw her, Tiana, sitting on a crate, head down, apron stained with syrup and tears. Her phone in her hands. Screen glowing with a missed call. Michael froze. Not from awkwardness, but from recognition. That kind of pain. It was personal. It meant something deeper was going on. He didn't interrupt. He just waited, silently, around the corner, and then she whispered, thinking she was alone, "I can't lose this job." Her voice cracked. "God, I'm trying so hard. Why does it feel like no matter what I do, I'm not enough?" And something inside him clicked. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Quietly, he typed out a message, "Send in a clean crew tomorrow. This location's getting an audit. Discreet. No uniforms." He hit send, then he waved Tiana over. She approached with that same polite energy, like he was her very first customer of the day, not her 100th. "Yes, sir." Michael smiled. "Mind if I ask your name?" "Tiana," she replied. "Tiana Brooks." "That's a beautiful name," he said. "How long have you worked here?" "About 9 months," she answered. "Just started back again after a break." "Family stuff." He nodded. "You like it here?" Tiana hesitated. Her eyes flickered toward the counter, where the other staff stood, laughing at something on someone's phone. "It pays the bills," she said simply. Michael paused. Then, leaning in with a small grin, he whispered, "Between you and me, I think you deserve better." Tiana laughed. "I think everyone does." He paid in cash, left a tip folded under the plate, something big enough to raise eyebrows later, and stood up. "Thanks for everything, Tiana. You've got something special." She smiled, that soft tired smile again. "Have a safe trip, sir." He nodded. "Oh. I'll be seeing you again." She didn't catch it. Outside, Michael slid into the back seat of a black sedan that had pulled up. His assistant, Julia, was already typing on her laptop. "You stayed longer than planned," she said. "She's the real thing," Michael replied. "The waitress?" He nodded. "And the rest of them?" "They just confirmed what the report said." Julia pulled up her notes. "So, what's next?" Michael looked out the window one last time. Tiana was inside, wiping down the counter while the others leaned on their elbows, scrolling through their phones. "Set up the internal audit," he said. "But don't start with financials." She blinked. "Then what?" "Start with people." The next morning, everything looked the same. On the surface, but small things were different. There was a man pretending to fix the vending machine, except he was really watching customer service, a woman posing as a food critic in casual clothes, snapping quiet photos of interactions. Even the delivery guy wasn't the usual one, because Michael had swapped the vendor for the day. The staff didn't know, but the diner was under review, and Tiana. She just kept doing her job, still unaware the man she served eggs and black coffee to was the very one who signed the paychecks. Around noon, Michael returned, this time in a clean shirt, shaved, looking like a completely different man. He sat in the same booth. Tiana spotted him right away. "Back again?" she said, smiling. "Told you I'd be seeing you." He watched her as she poured the coffee. Calm. Kind. Completely herself, but this time, he didn't ask questions. He let her work, and as she moved from table to table, Michael's assistant walked in through the side door and handed a file to the manager. Inside the file, employee complaints, customer complaints, photos, audio clips, pay gaps, scheduling biases. The manager opened it, and his face drained of color. Michael stood, casually walking toward the front. The manager looked up, confused. "Sir, can I help?" "Why?" But the words stopped, because now he recognized the face. Not the old man from yesterday, but the man, the CEO, Michael Carrington. Silence fell like a bomb. Every staff member stopped moving. One waitress nearly dropped a glass. Michael didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He simply said, "Tiana, could you join me out front, please?" Tiana looked stunned. Nervous, she wiped her hands, walked over. "Yes, sir." Michael turned to the manager. She doesn't clock out until I say so. Then he turned to her, come with me. We're going to talk about your future. And just like that, the room froze. The CEO had come. Not to shut them down, but to lift someone up, the one no one noticed, the one who noticed everyone, and this? This was just the beginning. The walk to the car felt surreal. Tiana followed behind Michael slowly, apron still on, hands trembling. She had no idea what was happening. No clue why the owner of the company had just pulled her aside like she was someone important. Michael opened the car door, gestured for her to sit. She hesitated, then obeyed, heart pounding. He sat across from her, watching the panic in her eyes. You okay? He asked gently. She nodded, but her face said otherwise. Michael leaned forward. I owe you an explanation. And an apology. Tiana blinked. For what? For not coming sooner, he said. For not seeing what's been happening in my own company. She said nothing. He continued, I've been hearing reports. Disrespect, favoritism, racism, neglect. And I didn't want to believe them. So I came myself. Dressed like someone no one would care about. She covered her mouth. You were that man? He nodded. And you, he said slowly, were the only one who treated me like I mattered. Tiana's eyes welled with tears, but she blinked them back. I was just doing my job. No, Michael said. You were doing something bigger than that. You were showing people what humanity looks like when no one's watching. She lowered her gaze. I needed the job. That's all. He pulled a folder from the seat beside him. Handed it to her. What's this? She asked. An offer. Tiana opened it slowly. Her jaw dropped. Regional training supervisor. Full-time. Triple the pay. Housing support. Full benefits. She looked up, stunned. This isn't real, she whispered. It's very real, Michael replied. You've been training people already, just by being yourself. Now I want you to do it officially. I need you to help rebuild the culture I let rot. Tiana's lip trembled. Why me? Because when the lights were off. When nobody important was around. You showed character. Not just once. Every single time. That's what leadership looks like to me. There was a long silence. Then. Tiana broke, the tears came fast. No more holding back, Michael handed her a tissue. I don't know what to say, she whispered, just say yes. He smiled, and she did. Back inside the diner, the energy had shifted, the staff were tense. Whispering. Waiting, the manager was pacing. Beads of sweat forming on his forehead. He had already seen the report, every complaint, every piece of evidence tied to his mismanagement. The door opened. Michael and Tiana walked in side by side. Silence. The CEO faced them all, calm but firm. Let me be very clear, he began. This diner is not closing. Everyone exhaled, but. He added, it is changing. He turned to the manager. You're being suspended pending investigation. Expect formal notice this week. The man tried to speak, but Michael raised a hand. Save it. We've heard enough. He turned to the rest. This place will not be run by favoritism. Or racism. Or laziness. If you're here for a paycheck and nothing else, you won't be here long. A few people dropped their eyes. And as for your new supervisor, he said, looking at Tiana, she'll be handling retraining for every one of you. Gasps. Whispers. One waitress scoffed. Her. She's not even a manager. Michael turned. His voice dropped low. No. She's something better. She's earned this. The waitress went quiet. Michael smiled at Tiana. Welcome to leadership. The room didn't clap. It didn't cheer, it just listened. For the first time, the voices that had been silent were being heard. And the ones who used to laugh suddenly had nothing to say. Outside, Tiana stood in the parking lot, staring at the sky. Michael stepped beside her. You good? She nodded. I just never thought I'd be seen. Michael looked at her. You were always seen. Just not by the right people. Until now. Tiana turned to him. What about the others? The ones like me. In other diners? He smiled. That's why I need you. She exhaled slowly, heart full. This wasn't just a promotion, it was a purpose. 3 weeks later, the same street, the same diner, but something was different. Michael stepped out of the car, this time wearing jeans and a hoodie. Not as a CEO. Not undercover either. Just watching. The window had a new sign posted beside the menu board, respect is served here. He smiled. Inside, the morning rush had already begun. But it moved differently now, faster. Smoother. Warmer. The same waitresses were there, but they stood taller. Less gossip. More teamwork. Even the cook, once quick to mock, now shouted encouragement from the kitchen, and there, near the back, was Tiana, not in an apron, in a navy blue blouse. Clipboard in hand. Calm, commanding. Confident, she wasn't bussing tables anymore, she was building something. Michael took a seat at the booth, his booth, watching as Tiana trained 2 new hires. One was a shy immigrant girl. The other, a young man who stuttered slightly when he spoke. She treated both like future managers. That was the difference. Tiana didn't lead with ego. She led with experience. And grace. And memory. She remembered what it felt like to be overlooked. To be spoken over, to cry in the back room and wonder if God was even listening, and now, here she was. The answer to someone else's prayer. A few minutes later, she spotted him, her smile bloomed instantly. You're back, she said, walking over. He nodded. Had to see it for myself. She looked around. Still a work in progress, but we're getting there. He leaned in. No. You're way ahead. She sat across from him. I've been to 2 other locations since, she said. Same patterns. Same silence. But I'm not silent anymore. Michael's face softened. You shouldn't be. She nodded. I don't want to fix everything overnight. But I do want to be the reason someone doesn't quit. Or cry. Or give up. Michael let those words sink in, because they weren't just about a diner. They were about leadership. About healing. About rewriting stories written in the shadows. You're not just changing this place, he said. You're changing me. Tiana chuckled. Not bad for a girl with sticky notes in her pocket and grease on her shoes. They laughed, then Michael pulled something from his coat, a small plaque. He handed it to her. She turned it over and read aloud, Tiana Brooks, Heart of the House Award. For leading with compassion when no one was watching. She blinked away tears. I don't need awards, she whispered. I know, he said. That's why you deserve one. They sat there in silence for a few seconds, just listening to the buzz of the diner, the clinks of coffee mugs, the laughter of customers, the soft music humming from the ceiling speakers. It was peaceful now, alive, whole. Later that day, Michael stood outside, ready to leave. Tiana walked out beside him, holding a cup of tea. You really never planned to say who you were that first day, did you? She asked. He shook his head. I wanted truth, not performance. You got both, she said with a smirk. He laughed. I did. And I got hope, too. As he opened the door to his car, he looked back. Tiana. Yeah. You ever think about running a whole region? She raised a brow. You serious? Dead serious. She stared at him, then smiled. Ask me in 6 months, she said. I've got a few more people I need to raise up first. He nodded. Deal. The car pulled away slowly. Tiana stood there, plaque in one hand, clipboard in the other, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like she had to prove her worth. She knew it. Because one ordinary day, in a nowhere diner, she treated a man like he mattered. Even when the world said he didn't, and it turned out. He ran the whole thing, but more importantly, he saw her, and once she was seen, really seen, nothing was ever the same again.